Okay, so today we're checking out the ENGWE EP-2 Pro folding electric bike. This has 20 by 4 inch fat tires, internal battery in the frame. The frame is like an aluminum steel alloy, pretty strong. This bike comes in 3 colors. So I've got the gray, or I guess they're calling it silver. Also comes in black and orange. I think actually the silver looks probably the best to me. So this is my actually second model from ENGWE. I actually never made a video on the first one that I got. I've had it for almost a year. I still have it. It's the X5S. It's a mini folding bike with some 14-inch wheels. That model got discontinued, which is why I never made a video on that one. But I might do a comparison to that one, to some of the newer 14-inch folding e-bikes. Let me know if you're interested in a video on that, and I'll make one. Just let me know down in the comments below. Okay, so just some overall specs here on the bike. Pretty large 12.8 amp hour 48 volt battery. Pretty big 750 watt motor in the rear, so plenty of power. If you want to do this as a street bike or off-road bike, it's got plenty of power for both. So the 20-inch wheels here are the mag style spokes, not the traditional spokes. So these are actually, I think, better for these 20-inch fat tires. So for the gearing system, you have a 7-speed Shimano Tourney shifter and derailleur, pretty standard. It comes on a lot of these 20-inch e-bikes, and shifts fine, pretty smooth, really nothing notable there. It's a pretty decent entry-level shifter. So on the back here, you've got this nice rack that's included. You have a metal fender on the front and the rear, so a lot of e-bikes come in plastic fenders. This one will come with a metal fender. It's pretty nice. You've got a rear brake light here that is activated by the handbrake. And in the front, you've got a headlight for night riding. So this model does come with a front fork adjustable suspension with a lockout mechanism. So if you're going to be riding on some streets and don't need the suspension for off-roading, you can lock that out. But if you're going to be doing some off-roading, obviously you're going to want the front suspension. No rear suspension and no suspension seat post. But with the fat tires, the ride's still pretty comfortable, even when you're going on some rough surfaces. So for braking, you have 180 millimeter mechanical disc brakes and rotors on both the front and the rear, and they work pretty good. The seat height is adjustable. I'll put up on the screen here the minimum and maximum recommended height. So this is the main center fold here in the frame. The battery is inside the center part of the frame. The charging port is right over here behind this little rubber plastic cover. There is a key that is required and has to be actually turned on, or turned to the on position for you to turn the bike on or off. If it's off, then the bike won't turn on. And obviously, if you don't have the key in there, then you can't power the bike with the battery. It basically turns the battery on and off, and that is required. Then of course you've got a pretty heavy duty kickstand here. Nothing notable. This one, it works pretty well. The pedals do fold up, of course, on a folding bike. Pretty easy to fold these up like that. And there's also this stand part here that's under the pedal that actually is for when the bike's folded up, so it protects the rail there for the chain so it doesn't get damaged. So up here towards the handlebar, you've got a mechanism, a latch here to raise and lower the handlebar height. And then down over here is another latch with a safety for the folding of the handlebar, so you can fold that down. So on the grips here, they're pretty nice. They have a nice little shape here, very comfortable. Probably one of the better ones in terms of e-bike grips. I have no complaints about this grip. It works pretty well. You got your controller here, your plus and minus buttons for your pedal assist, on-off button right here to turn on the bike or turn on the battery. Got a mechanical bell. You got your Shimano 7-speed shifter. Again, pretty standard and entry level, works pretty well. The handbrakes here on both sides, no problems, they work very well. So to turn on the bike, again, you press and hold the power button, and you can see the display here. It's a pretty bright day out right now, but it is visible. It's not super bright in terms of the display, but obviously you got your battery level, your speed, and your pedal assist number, and your odometer. And to increase your pedal assist, you just hit the plus button. So there's going to be 5 levels of pedal assist and various maximum speeds based on what level of pedal assist you're on. And then the last notable thing here is the twist throttle here on the right grip. So you just twist that and hold it, and that will actually maintain your throttle if you're going to be using throttle mode. And of course there's the pedal assist mode. Of course, if you're pedaling, the motor will kick in and assist you. If you're on pedal assist level 0, then there will be no motor assist. You can just ride like a normal bike. Now, one thing about this throttle, the twist throttle here, is if you hold it for I think 10 seconds, it will go into cruise control mode, and basically will hold that speed. You can let go of the throttle, and it will maintain that speed. And then if you want to brake, use any of the brakes or use the throttle again, and it will deactivate the cruise control. So the packaging of the bike was very good, very typical of a lot of these e-bikes that do require a little bit of assembly. Very well packed, lots of foam and zip ties to remove, of course. Overall, the assembly of the bike took me about an hour. I think would say most of it was taking off of all the zip ties and the foam and the packing materials. And overall, I would say that the putting the front wheel on was probably the most complicated out of everything. You just have to make sure you get all the nuts and the washers in the right spot to line up everything. And of course, all the tools are included. If you need a full instruction detailed video, there is one on the product page that outlines every assembly step, in terms of what you need to do. And overall, I didn't have any major issues putting the bike together. So doing a speed test of the bike based on the different power levels on throttle only. On level 1, it's about 8 miles an hour. Level 2 is about 10 miles an hour. Level 3 is around 12, 13 miles an hour. 4 is around 17 miles an hour. And then level 5 tops out at around 20 miles an hour. Now do note that this is a class 2 e-bike, and it is speed limited to 20 miles an hour in the US. There's a way to unlock it, but I'm not sure what it is. I think you have to contact the company at their support channel, and then they'll give you the instructions on how to unlock it through the control panel. I don't usually show that on my videos just for legal reasons. I don't want to get into any trouble where perhaps it might be illegal to unlock it in your area. Okay, so just a quick note on the range of the bike. They are advertising approximately 50 miles of maximum range on a full charge of the full 12.8 amp hours in the battery. Now that, of course, is going to vary depending on a lot of different conditions. I'm pretty sure it's going to be based on the lowest or lower pedal assist settings, and that's of course just while you're pedaling with a little bit of assistance from the battery and the motor. But if you're just using throttle only, for example, that's going to reduce your range. That's pretty obvious. If you're on hilly terrain, that's going to also reduce your range. If you're a heavier rider like myself, I'm like 6 foot tall, about 200 pounds, that's also going to probably reduce your range. So I would say on the low end, if you're really not riding the bike efficiently, always just using throttle, not pedaling, perhaps you're on the heavier side, you might get as low as half of the advertised range on a full charge, 20, 25 miles. That's totally not unexpected for most e-bikes. So usually when they advertise range, it's going to be obviously under the best case scenario, the best conditions possible. So that'll be like your most expected range possible under optimal conditions. So regarding the pedal assist levels and how the speed controller of the motor is calibrated to the cadence of the sensor, the speed sensor as on the pedals, it's pretty good in this bike. I think compared to some other ones out there where it provides a little bit too much power, especially in the lower settings. A lot of these bikes tend to be programmed for basically like jackrabbit starts. And I think that's maybe because most people, some people like that kind of, sort of really fast starts off the line. I don't think that's actually that safe, because sometimes the bike will tend to throw people off if it actually has too much torque or too much power. So this actually brings on that power a little bit more gently. Even though it's got a really powerful 750 watt motor, it doesn't provide that all at once, which is, I think, kind of dangerous, especially if you're an older rider or someone that perhaps is not as coordinated. You don't necessarily want all that power right away. Now, I know that these controllers are reprogrammable. So if you want more power off the bat, you can contact the company and they'll probably give you some instructions how to get into the advanced settings and adjust that if you want to adjust it up. But I felt that it was pretty good for this model. At the lower settings, you get it's more gentle push off the line, from a stop, and then you can gradually build up your speed. And it doesn't provide so much power where you actually run out of pedal, as long as you have the proper gearing. If you're using the shifter correctly. Whereas on summer bikes, you pedal a little bit, and all of a sudden the bike just takes off on you, and then you're actually not doing anything in terms of when you're actually pedaling the bike. This is not, all it's doing is just keeping the motor active, but you're not actually providing any assistance to the motor. It's all the motor, even though you are pedaling. So this one does a much better job in that regard. Just like my other ENGWE model, I do like the 1/3 twist throttle on this one. I preferred the twist throttle over the thumb throttles because over time, if you're using the throttle a lot, holding your thumb down on the throttle can be kind of tiring. And then the cruise control obviously works really well. I like that feature a lot. I also like the fact that the entire grip is not the controlling the throttle, it's just the 1/3 of the throttle, 1/3 of the grip, which means you can actually just let go of that inner part of where the throttle is in terms of the twist, and you're not actually, sometimes you can, if you grab onto the whole grip, if the whole grip is a throttle, then sometimes you can go full power without realizing, and then all of a sudden the bike is, you get thrown off the back of the bike and the bike just takes off in front of you. So that's another safety feature on this bike. Overall, the ride is very comfortable on this one, obviously with two 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires and a front suspension fork. Very smooth ride, really no complaints. You can ride on grass. It's an all-terrain type of bike that can go on streets, dirt roads, etc. Probably not for like severe, like extreme mountain biking. I wouldn't say it's good for that, but it can handle a wide variety of terrain and give you a nice, comfortable ride. Of course, if you want a better ride in terms of the seat, if you don't feel the seat's that comfortable, I thought it was okay. I could probably last on there for a good 30 minutes, no problem. You do want to sit a little bit further back on the seat just to make sure you're positioned properly. I felt that if you're a little too far forward, it was uncomfortable. I think it kind of depends on the rider. You may want to adjust the seat positioning a little bit. You can adjust it below. There's a bolt there where you can move it forward or backwards. I think probably need to move it a little bit more forwards for me. But as long as you're further back on the seat, it felt pretty good. Although if you want additional comfort, you can swap out the seat completely or even put in a suspension seat post. There's a lot of them out there for around $100, $50 even, somewhere around there. Not too expensive to upgrade that if you want additional comfort, but I felt like it really wasn't necessary on this one with the fat tires and the front suspension fork. So this bike is quite heavy with a large battery and of course a big frame. It is foldable. Now, I would, it really kind of depends if what kind of car or van or whatever you're going to be putting this in. On my car, it was a little bit tricky getting it in because it's pretty big. I think that if I laid it on its side, it would probably fit in. But if I was standing it up on the wheels, it was a little bit too tall for my particular car is like a compact SUV. So while it is foldable and you can make it a little bit smaller to transport it inside like a car or a truck or a van, you probably want something that's a little bit on the bigger side to transport this inside your vehicle. Okay, so just a quick kind of comparison to another popular electric bike that is very similar to this model is the Electric XP version 2.0. So it comes in around the same price if you use the coupon code. Actually, I think this one's a little bit less, maybe about $30 cheaper than the Electric XP. But I feel like it's a better value because it's got a bigger battery. It's got a 12.8 amp hour battery versus the 10.4 amp hour battery on the electric. So that's an advantage, and you get more range, of course, with the bigger battery. This one has a twist throttle. It has the mag wheels versus the spokes. The mag wheels are definitely always a better upgrade over versus spokes that can break, and then that's a pretty costly repair. But overall, in terms of, a comparison of that popular electric bike compared to this one is, a pretty good in terms of like what you get. You get quite a bit more for the money. And I believe they don't charge tax. So if you look at the side-by-side here of with the coupon code, it's quite a bit cheaper to get the ENGWE EP-2 Pro, which has more specs and features over the Electric XP at a lower cost compared to the Electric XP, which has less features and specs. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully, all the information was helpful. If it did help you out in terms of making a decision on buying this bike, check out the links in the video description. Make sure you use the coupon code, of course, to get that $250 off on the bike. That's a really good price at this time. And if you did find the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps out the channel. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.